Hold on, Alex.
I can tell you how he differs from George Bush, and so can Bill Clinton. You just saw on tape. This president is telling the American people that the biggest problem we have is other Americans that are holding the economy back. And Bill Clinton was a new business Democrat, a new Democrat. He wanted to grow the economy. The president's job, Bill Clinton thought, was to grow it for everybody, not just to redistribute what some Americans have. That's why the biggest split, I think, that's hurting Barack Obama now is a split in the Democratic Party. It turns out Hillary Clinton is still running in the 2008
Well, let me ask
primary.
you this, though, Alex, because here's the problem for Governor Romney. He does have to create distance from a Republican Party that is in trouble. He has to create new opportunities for the fact that there is a coalition of the young, Hispanics, and women who he has a severe disadvantage with. And he has to do that with this kind of vision for the economy that is different than how's it going with the other guy, which is basically what his message has been so far.
And all you have to do, I think, is look at the world around you and describe it, which is what I think you're going to see not only Mitt Romney, but new Republicans do. And that is, look, how do we grow this economy? The old way, the way Barack Obama still wants to do it, send our money to Washington and try to grow it top-down politically and artificially from Washington, or take money out of big, dumb, slow government, put it in the American people's pockets, invest in 300 million dreams and plans, and grow the economy naturally and organically, bottom up.
Mayor, let me ask you this.
There is a new Republican agenda.
What is the bold economic idea that you would like President Obama to run on? You're in a big city. You see the impact of the economy every day. What's the big idea he should be running on?
The big idea he ought to be running on is making sure that he gets the Congress to pass the infrastructure investments that we've been talking about for more than 2 years, that Republicans and Democrats have traditionally agreed upon, and that will get the country moving again. Republicans didn't traditionally vote against infrastructure. We know verifiably that infrastructure generates jobs. And fact of the matter in this election, Alex just referenced Mitt Romney's record of 4.7% unemployment. Think of the time that we were in when Mitt Romney was governing. Then he talked about the president at 8.2. The president had to deal with the worst economy in 80 years. He had much tougher challenges than Mitt Romney ever had. And the fact of the matter is, 40 months into Barack Obama's presidency, 21,000 jobs were generated in Massachusetts. 40 months into Mitt Romney's term as governor, 6,000 jobs were generated in Massachusetts.
Mayor, with all due respect, we had a $1 trillion stimulus that was put into infrastructure. We had a $1 trillion health care bill, and we haven't seen the economic growth that we need. Federal spending.
Third of that was tax cuts.
We're not going to tax our way to prosperity. We're not going to spend our way to prosperity. We have to put in place the policies that are going to help us have long-term growth, and we have to address our deficit problems. This is a president who's rung up $1 trillion deficits every year in office. These are big problems that we have to have somebody
But aren't we falling into a similar trap,
I think the president keeps referring to the Congress, and I think Governor Kasich earlier made a very important point that presidents have to lead, and he hasn't done that. He's always mastered the pageantry of bipartisanship,
but there is a contrast.
Executed
Governor Romney's talking about 6% unemployment if he gets into power as president at the end of his first term. You can't know that any more than he says the president could know based on the stimulus.
But you can have the optimism about your policies. You can have the. I think go ahead.
No, I was going to just say that I think the problem for President Obama is his campaign message has devolved down to, this is as good as it gets. I'm doing the best that I can.
You couldn't be more.
And which leaves Mitt Romney, I think, a tremendous opportunity to be Moses, to say, follow me, we can do better.
Right, let me go around. I know there's disagreement about that point. I want to get in here. I want to cover some other topics this week, go around the table a little bit more quickly on some of these topics. The first one is GOP sweepstakes, which we have our eye on here. And this caught my eye from the Wall Street Journal, Jerry Sives this week. He talks about the buzz around Rob Portman from Ohio, the unPalin. The case for Ohio's Rob Portman is fairly simple. He wouldn't hurt the Romney cause in any significant ways and could help it in others. If the goal is to avoid a Palin-like experience, well, Portman is the unPalin of 2012. His resume is sterling. No chance his credentials would be questioned. Little chance he would hurt the ticket, and only a slim chance he would commit a distracting gaffe. Is this where you see Romney ultimately going the other direction from a game-change moment with a VP?
I think Romney would probably be wise to pick the dullest guy he could pick, the suitcase with no handle, because you want the spotlight not to be on your VP pick, you want it to be on Barack Obama and his economic failure. But Portman has a problem. George Bush. He gives the Democrats a campaign on. I think somebody to watch would be a Bobby Jindal. who has been vetted, who's been out there, who has a terrific record. But at the end of the day, you don't want the vice presidential choice to draw the spotlight.
Do you see him as formidable or a target-rich environment?
Bobby Jindal?
No. I'm talking about Rob Portman.
Oh, yes. Well, I think either Portman or Ryan allows Democrats to make a very strong argument about either the economic past or the economic future. And so I think both of those would be very interesting for Democrats and allow a lot of fodder.
Kevin, will you give us anything on this, or are you going to clam up?
I always say that you're very smart to ask. I'd be very dumb to answer.
But we have a rich tradition,
yeah,
especially recently, of people answering and saying what's on their mind.
I have a rich
here.
tradition of avoiding those questions.
Yeah, okay.
Look, I will say this. I think that it will be a lens to look at Governor Romney on the type of decision he makes. This would be essentially his first decision as a potential president.
When's he going to make it, by the way?
That I don't have an answer for either.
Okay. We could rule out Donald Trump.
I don't know, can we?
Let's go next up, the items on our list of Round the Table, and that's Bush back at the White House, the portrait unveiling. This is a rare moment of bipartisanship in Washington, and it's also pretty humorous, too. Listen to our president with this president.
I am also pleased, Mr. President, that when you are wandering these halls as you wrestle with tough decisions, you will now be able to gaze at this portrait and ask, what would George do?
Mayor, if only we had a few more moments of like that here in Washington, the place might work a little better, right?
Yeah, you're right. We need more of that. We're going to need it to move the country forward.
These are, having covered when President Clinton came back, when Bush was president, you see these similar moments of great humor. And this is a rare and exclusive club, presidents.
And there's a certain generosity of spirit to George Bush and personal warmth that does seem to be missing in our politics today.
Yeah, and I would say on that, one thing that we really do miss is President Bush had a lot of leadership on immigration issues and really spoke out to have an open tent for Latinos that has been sorely missing, and I think will be a big challenge for
I got
Mitt
along
Romney.
with him just fine.
That was good. Let's go on our last item here, and that is John Edwards, a second act for him. Of course, the trial wound up this week. There was a mistrial, most counts, and acquittal on one, and here was John Edwards after the fact.
This is the last thing I'm going to say. I don't think God's through with me. I really believe he thinks there's still some good things I can do.
Is there a second act here, Nira?
I hope not, honestly. Just to be blunt about it, I think that John Edwards should do really good things outside the spotlight and really not call on any attention for himself or anything.
He doesn't have a second run in him anywhere.
God may not be through with him, but the American people are.
Absolutely.
Kevin, let me ask you this, and one of the other issues that came up was Mitt Romney, the image of Romney coming down with the Trump plane in the background this week. Was this much more cost than it was worth to go out there and raise money, Donald Trump, with all this birther nonsense still floating out there?
Well, I think there's other people are focused on that. I think when as a campaign you try to ask yourself the question, what really matters to the American people? I don't think they're focused on that issue. I think it's an absolute distraction. I think what's really important is that the governor has every single time that issue has come up, he's made it very clear that he disagrees with Donald Trump on that issue. And he's very focused on talking about the economy. That's what people are really animated about out there who haven't made up their mind about this election, who care about the direction of the country. So it's just a distraction.
I just want to say, I think on the Trump thing, it does speak to a bigger character issue, which is if you can't stand up to Donald Trump or Rush Limbaugh when he's attacking Sandra Fluck, and when you can't say, you know, that's really wrong, and just step away from it, you know, it raises questions as a president. We always talk about moral character.
I think every second we waste talking about that is one that the American people grow more and more frustrated with the process. If we talk more about the issues that we care about, and we talk about the economy, we talk about growth, we talk about what we're going to do to move this country forward versus what's constantly what divides us or what may not bring us together.
No,
Absolutely.
you don't have to have character enough to push back against that kind of language in a much more stronger way than he has to date. He's trying to have it both ways.
I think when the economic house is on fire, you see your president putting out that fire. And all the Obama campaign seems to be doing so far is talking about Donald Trump and whether it's other peripheral issues that may be important, but the house is burning down.
He wasn't
and
very
it's
good
lessening and attacking.
Let me leave it there. The debate will continue. Thanks to all of you. Coming up, more on